Everybody, thank you so much. We're gonna kick off our webinar today. This is Marilyn Wilson. I'm the president of RE Technology and managing partner for Wave Group. I see many familiar names on the participant list today, so welcome everybody. Great to have you all. So I'm really excited to show you something. I got a sneak peek of this technology yesterday. I got to tell you, it is pretty darn cool in my opinion. Product managers are online saying yes, thank you. Anyway, as many of you know, just a few weeks ago, Zillow announced the purchase of ShowingTime, which by the way is not official yet. So that has not actually happened completely yet. But with the announcement of that came I guess a flurry would be the best word I would describe, of many companies announcing alternative solutions, Homesnap being one of them. And Homesnap has been, I think, at this for some time. And I think when you see it, you'll see what I mean. It looks great. And I think the exciting news is that for any of you that already have Homesnap as one of your product offerings as an MLS or as a broker, the Homesnap Showings functionality is being included with the product. So there's no additional cost for this, which is kind of exciting. There may be a chance for some budget return on other products over time. So let me quickly introduce who we've got with us, and then I'm going to turn it over to them to show us the good stuff. So we've got Lou Mintzer with us today. He's the Senior VP of Product Development at Homesnap. If you've been on some of our other webinars, he's spoken more than once about some of the really cool features that Homesnap has. I don't know if any of you guys have had this experience, but I can tell you that just about every time that I talk to an agent that has the ability to get Homesnap within their MLS, I get, oh my God, I love that product. It's just a very popular product with a lot of people. So we've got Lou with us. He's going to introduce his product team, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. So Lou, welcome.
Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks for the really great introduction. Appreciate it. And it's really nice to have a little bit of your time today and a little bit of the time of everybody in the audience. Thanks for joining. So really, really excited to give everybody the first look at Homesnap Showings today. But first, let me quickly introduce Lynn Mataisi and Allison Barnes. These are the product managers who have coalesced the vision behind Homesnap Showings over the past 6 to 8 weeks since the Zillow announcement came out. And they really are the brain powers behind everything that I'm going to show you today. And they're also here not only for moral support, but to help jump in with Q&A as we get down the road a little bit. Cool. So I'm going to just start cranking here. So I got a couple of slides. I just want to set up Homesnap and the BPP for the audience. And then I'm going to jump right into what everybody wants to see, which is the Homesnap Showings demo. So first, Homesnap, we're the nation's largest mobile platform for real estate agents. We're live in hundreds of MLSs. We've got a pretty map with a ton of pins on it. I think the official count's 250 some MLSs. That represents nearly 1.2 million real estate agents. And what we've done with Homesnap Pro is really try to help real estate agents be productive while they're doing their job. So we've taken a lot of time to figure out the job map of a real estate agent, which is complicated and nonlinear, and it's different from hour to hour, from day to day. And we've made it so that they can accomplish an awful lot of their business processes right from their mobile phone. Now, Homesnap is also the partner of the BPP, right? And that means we are an ally and a friend to the industry, right? And our relationship with the BPP isn't just a 3-year vendor deal. We have actually formed a joint venture with the Broker Public Portal, right? And the idea is that this venture will exist in perpetuity, indefinitely, right? And it ensures that Homesnap will always operate with the industry's best principles and agents' best interests in mind. And I've been in an awful lot of these BPP joint venture meetings, and I'll tell you that they're very, very friendly. BPP is the Broker Public Portal. They're very friendly because Homesnap, deep down, we believe that operating in the industry's best interests and operating in the best interest of agent is the best way to do business, right? And so it's a very, very natural alliance. We've got over 720,000 registered real estate agents. And we've also done deep integrations with many MLS systems. We've got over 100 of those live. So with CoreLogic, with Black Knight, with Flex MLS. And so we really want to be the mobile counterpart to your existing MLS system. Now we operate by your listing, your lead policy, and we've distributed over 8 million leads directly to listing agents and brokers through Homesnap. With millions of downloads and millions of visits per month, we are really growing as a company and as a destination for home sellers and shoppers. Now, I also wanted to reinforce that we will never become a competing brokerage. We'll never become an iBuyer because that goes against our values, right? This is a really important principle that Homesnap has operated by for more than 10 years now. And it's also a really important principle that CoStar has abided by for much longer than 10 years in the commercial industry. We're a vendor to the industry, we're an ally, we're a friend, we're a partner to the industry, but we will never compete with you, with brokers, with agents, with teams in the industry to sell houses, to do transactions by becoming an iBuyer, by becoming a brokerage, and so forth. Now, I want to start getting to the good stuff, which is Homesnap Showings. And so Marilyn took away my thunder, but it's free. So for all MLSs that already offer Homesnap Pro to their members, you will have the option to turn on Homesnap Showings, including integrating it into your MLS system, both on the listings management side and the display side, for no additional cost. And the reason is because we view a showing service as the basic infrastructure of our industry, right? ShowingTime is essentially a common carrier, right? We didn't plan to build a showing service. We've always chose to partner with ShowingTime because it may not be the prettiest interface in the world, but it's got the job. It gets the job done, and it's got a lot of users and a lot of showings, and it's a good product. I admire it. It wasn't until 2 months ago when Zillow, a broker, Zillow made the ultra anti-competitive move of buying a common carrier, did it cause us to rearrange our product roadmap and prioritize building a showing service. And we're doing this not as a revenue center, not as a way to make money, but as a way to support the industry and to support agents and teams and brokerages so that you can do your important business without putting your data into a competing broker's system. So with that said, I'm like glancing at the chat and questions. I know you guys got a lot of questions, but I am going to turn the page and just start cranking on the demo because I know that's what so many of you are here to see. And then I'll pass it back to Marilyn and she'll open the floor for questions. And Lynn and Allie and I will do our best to answer everything that you can throw at us. Sound good, Marilyn? Are we still on track? Okay, so here it is. This is your very first look at Homesnap Showings. And I'm going to take you through the calendar, the listing agent user flow, as well as the buyer's agent user flow. And then we can talk integrations too. So first, I'm going to start with the calendar. And the reason is because a calendar is a quintessential component of showings, right? You've got appointments to go see other listings. You've got appointments, other people wanting to see your listings. You're stringing together sets of appointments into an itinerary to service your buyers. And putting all that data onto a single calendar makes a really big difference in terms of being organized and effective as you do your job. And so we have a fully robust calendar built into Homesnap Showings that will be part of Homesnap Pro when we launch. And I also want to call out that this isn't just a web application. It will be live on the desktop web, on mobile web. We're also going to launch it simultaneously on our iPhone and iPad app, as well as in the Android app. And so have this great calendar on all the interfaces. Not only that, but the calendar has bi-directional interoperability with Google Calendar. So you can pull all of your appointments and itineraries from Homesnap Showings into your Google Calendar, or you can pull all of your appointments in Google Calendar into Homesnap Showings. So you only have one calendar, and we don't care. It could be ours, it can be Google's. We want you to have a single calendar. So I'm going to show you around the calendar a little bit. So by default, it starts with this month view, but it's very easy to switch over to a week view. Here you can see I've got a couple appointments. I've got this big itinerary on Thursday. If I tap on the itinerary, I could drill right in and view the details. You can also switch over and look at the day view. And so in the day view, I see I've got something going on at 11 o'clock today, and I can click to see the details. Now I can also click and take action from the calendar. So here I see I have a pending appointment, right? It's not filled in. If I click on that, I see it's pending. I can confirm it. I can decline it. I'm going to confirm this appointment. So I've just taken action straight from my calendar. You can also flip over to a schedule view, and this shows all of the appointments in the coming days in a list view. And here as well, you can see which are pending, which are confirmed. You can click on them to get more details. So that's the basic calendar. Now I want to move into some of the real important user flows that your members, many people are working through. And so I'm going to start with the listing agent flow, right? The listing agent is the person that needs to be able to configure their showing settings and take appointments, right? And they need to be able to do this for multiple listings. And so when you click on My Listings, by default, you will have a list of all of your active showings, as well as all of your listings that are eligible to have a showing. And this is based on MLS rules that vary by MLS to MLS. Lower down, you'll also have a list of all of your past showings, including statistics and listing views and feedback information and so forth. But follow me on this journey. I want to take a look at this third listing, 120 Montgomery Avenue in Rockville. Showings are currently off. I want to set up showings. So I'm going to click Set Up Showings. Now it brings me to the showing configuration page. Well, one of the things that we decided was really, really important was ease of use. And so with Homesnap Showings, it's actually possible to activate a showing with a single click. Just flip that switch and your showing will be live. And that means in MLSs with integrations, buyer's agents will be able to instant book appointments, and Homesnap Pro users will also be able to instant book appointments on the web or inside the app. So super easy to turn the accepting showing requests on and off. This copy link actually gives you a URL that you could send to an agent directly and allow them to book. And you could also put it in an agent's remarks section of your MLS system and so forth. Now I'm going to scroll down the page, and the next thing you'll see is there's really three kinds of showing. So the first is there's a confirmation required, and confirmation is required by all, right? And so in this case, a buyer's request comes in, and before that appointment is confirmed, you need everyone that you listed with approval authority to say like, yes, that's okay, before the appointment's confirmed. Another kind is a go and show, right? Example here is you have an open house, you have an unoccupied home. You want people to book appointments so that you have a record of who saw it at what time, and also an opportunity to collect feedback from them. But no one needs to actually confirm or decline the appointment request. And then finally, we have confirmation required, confirm with any, right? And so this is probably the most common type of showing, where you can add several people to the showing. And as long as one person approves, then that appointment will be confirmed. So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to proceed with a confirmation required, confirm with any style appointment. So next, you'll see that we support in-person, virtual, and both virtual and in-person appointments. We've also got additional showing settings. And so we have smart defaults. Boxes are checked and unchecked by default. But here you can use a fine tune to adjust some things like designating whether or not the property is occupied, whether or not a Spanish-speaking agent was required or a listing agent must accompany, whether or not the showing agent's details should be shared with the owner and occupant, whether you're allowing inspections and walkthroughs and appraisals and so forth. And you can also configure your feedback survey settings here as well. And I'll show you more about what that looks like in a second. I'm going to close that. Now, the next section is the contacts and the notifications associated with this showing. And so by virtue of being connected directly to so many MLS systems, we're able to pre-populate this quite intelligently. So we automatically bring in the listing agent, any alternate or co-listing agents, as well as the showing contact. But in this case, I also want to add my seller, because in an ideal world, they would confirm the appointment before I even need to get involved. So I'm going to hit Add Client. And since this is built on top of Homesnap Pro, I've got one-click access to my office, to other agents that I viewed. I can add contact by email or phone number. And I also have access to my existing clientele inside of Homesnap. So I'm going to hit My Clients. I see my clients right here. Julia Johnson lives here. I'm going to select her. And this brings up the Edit Contact and Notifications modal. Here, I can update Julia's information, and I also set her notification settings, right? And so the first is, does she have the ability to confirm? In this case, yes, I do want her to be the person to confirm appointments. You can also set people up as just FYI only, or you can set people up to get no notifications if they were pre-populated, but you don't want them to be informed, like maybe in the case of a team leader being pre-populated. And then there's the notification preference. And so by default, we're building this on top of Homesnap messages. And that means when a showing request comes through, we'll go through this smart cascade. First, we'll try an in-app notification if you're using the app. Then we'll try a push notification. Then we'll try an SMS message. And finally, we'll fall back to an email. Now, of course, you can also override that and say, no, I just want to use text all the time by default, or email all the time by default. And you can change these notification preferences per contact associated with the listing. I'm going to close that. Now you can see Julie has been added to the here, but I actually want her to be the first person to have a bite at the apple. And so I'm going to do this drop down. I'm going to make her the first contact, and she jumps up to the top. So now when a buyer's agent makes a request, that notification is going to flow through to Julia first and give her a chance to accept or decline before I even hear about it, because my time is valuable and I'd rather her be in charge of approving the showing. Next section is the showing availability. So again, we've got a smart default here. It's available every day of the week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., starting on a certain date. But of course, this is editable. And so I'm going to click this and edit it. Here, you can designate the main time slots. If you'd like, you can set custom hours by day of the week. You can also specify a date range, the showing length, and this will be the showing length that shows up for the buyer's agent in the instant book interface, which I'll show in a second, as well as a number of other factors. So I'll save that. And now my main availability is set. But here's where we all know the world's messy, right? We've got piano lessons on Thursday night. I'm having an open house next Saturday. They're going on vacation the week after that. And so I need to add a whole bunch of exclusions, restrictions, exceptions to the main showing availability. And we've got a way to do that too. So if you click add here, you can designate other rules around availability and unavailability. So for the sake of simplicity, we've picked up that there's an open house coming up on this Saturday. And so on that day, I'm going to switch it to be a go and show. Here you can see it's the same context notifications. I'm not going to modify those, although I could. Same access details. I'm not going to modify those, although I could. And when I save that, you'll see now I've got 2 rules in the showing availability section. And this is where you can get creative. You can get quite complicated in terms of stacking these rules on top of one another, such that when a buyer's agent goes to book, they get a precise list of dates and time slots that are available, so that you never get in a position where somebody wants to see a house when the showing is truly not available. Now, as I scroll further down the page, you'll see there's an access details. Here, we're supporting code box, combination lock, master lock, Rentley, central lock, Supra, as well as HUD keys, keypads, etc. We're supporting all the various mechanisms, as well as a place to add the additional instructions and notes. And so once I've got this all set up and I feel pretty good about it, I can save it. And now when I save it, you'll see that I flipped the switch up top. And so I am currently accepting showing requests. Now showings will abide by the rules that I just saved. Here is another place you can grab the link to share that with someone directly, or you just hit done, and that showing is live. So now I'm going to flip over to Homesnap, and I'm going to show you what it looks like to instant book an appointment. And so here you can see one of the new agent actions that are available to agents only is the availability to instant book an appointment to go see any house that's being hosted through Homesnap Showings. And so I want to schedule a tour. So here I bring up this open table style interface where you can select a date and you can select a time and a tour type. And then what you've got it there, you hit the book now button. And then you can either create a new itinerary in case you want to go through the process of adding a bunch of listings to a single trip, or you can add it to existing. In this case, I'll add it to John and Amanda's itinerary. Now that showing has been requested on the back end. The notifications have been dispatched. And I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now I'm going to switch back over to the listing agents interface, except instead of being on the showing settings view, I'm actually going to turn over to the showing activity report. And so this is where the listing agent can manage all of the activity that pertains to their listing. And so here I can see, I've had 34 total appointments, 9 are upcoming. Well, I've got that one pending request that I just made, and I've also received 12 pieces of feedback. And so here, I'm just going to go ahead and accept the sample request that I had just made. And here you can see there's a bunch more of upcoming showings coming soon. Lower down on the page, you get to the showing activity. So we meticulously track all of the showings and allow you to filter it in a number of different ways. And we actually also get to see, I want to call this out because it's one of the things that we've really realized is super valuable. The fact that we're building Homesnap Showings on top of Homesnap and the Broker Public portal, which is a consumer portal, we're also able to bring in statistics about the listing. So how many people are viewing the listing? How many agents are viewing the listing? How many consumers are viewing the listing? And who precisely is viewing the listing? And so bringing together that showing intelligence with the consumer activity intelligence into the same spot turns out to be really valuable. Lower on the page, we start getting into the feedback. And so here are the survey results displayed in an aggregate way. The overall client interest, the experience, the listing price rating, and all this information can be filtered by date, by showing method, and also by showing type. And as I scroll further down the page, you get to see the actual feedback responses. Who left you the feedback? What did they say? On what date? When did they see the house? And so forth. And then there's also these switches that make it really easy to indicate whether or not you want to allow your showing agent to see the feedback. So that is the listing agent flow. And so what I had showed you there was the ability to go through and, oops, sorry, I just want to set one more thing. Here is the toggle I wanted to show you so you can turn it on and off so your seller can see the feedback. And I want to jump back. Now I'm back on the main Homesnap showing. So we're 2/3 of the way through so far, right? I showed you the calendar, and then I just showed you the listing agent use case, right? Setting up your showing, accepting, declining requests, viewing the reporting, as well as the feedback survey information and so forth. But we all know that buyer's agents are also a really, really important part of the puzzle. And that's why we've built a specific user flow for buyer's agents called My Itineraries. And so I'm going to jump over into My Itineraries. And here you see all of the upcoming itineraries that I've got scheduled. And here's John and Amanda's itinerary. That's the one that I had just booked from the listing page, as well as all the past itineraries that I've already completed. But I want to show you what it's like to build an itinerary. So I'm just going to hit Create Itinerary. And what we do is bring in all of your activity from Homesnap. So you get to see your favorites, your recently viewed, your snaps, and so forth. You can also search by address, but in this case, I'm just going to say I want to go toward one of my favorites right here. And I'm going to click that. You've seen this interface before. I pick a date, I pick a time, I designate a tour type. I say I want to book now. Here, I get an opportunity to name my itinerary. So it's pre-populated again, smart defaults. I'm going to hit save. Now I see that I've requested a showing on this date and time. The notifications have been dispatched, but I'm also going to go ahead and add another listing. So here, I'm going to add my second favorite, this home. Now this one, you'll see this listing is actually being managed currently in ShowingTime. And so we know that we are on the cusp of a market fracture, right? We're going from one predominant showing service to quite likely many showing services. And the person most impacted by that is the buyer's agent, because all of a sudden they have to go into different systems to book appointments for different houses. Homesnap has built a solution that can interact with other showing services. And so here, if you want to book with ShowingTime, well, we have the ability to single sign on right into ShowingTime, right into that listing, to make it super easy for the buyer's agent to get right into what they need to do to book a time. And I've been showing you Homesnap Showings. We've put a lot of design thinking into building this up, from the ground up. So shield your eyes as I show you the ShowingTime interface here, right? You pick a time, and here you'd request an appointment, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to jump back to Homesnap Showings. I'm going to close this. And now you can see I'm in the itinerary view. And what's really cool about this itinerary view, we take all the listings that have been added to your basket, and then we route your driving directions between all of those listings in the most optimal way possible. And that appears at the top of the page. You can also print this off into a PDF if you attach it to an email or share it with your client. You can also share this web page with your client as well, so that they can see a version of it that is read only. Now here you can add a client. You can also just open this right into Google Maps. And then below, you'll see again, if I wanted to, I could jump over to book with ShowingTime. You can also click in to see the details. So as you're kind of on the road, this details view is where you'll be retrieving the actual information, right? The lockbox combinations and so forth, the additional instructions. And then again, it's built right inside of Homesnap Pro. And I know that many of you on the call probably know one of the main things that you use Homesnap for is just chatting with other agents. It's like the #1 use case. And so here, Homesnap Messages shines. You can very easily see all the other agents that are associated with the listing, send them a message, real-time chat. You can see when they're typing, about to send something back to you. So you can work out those last-second kinks for a given showing. So that is the buyer's agent flow of setting up an itinerary. I'd also add that you can do some neat things like reorder these. Like if we set up a route, but you're like, oh no, I actually want to go to this one first and then that one, you can move these up and down. And as you adjust your list of appointments, the route will automatically update. Now, one more thing, and I'm going to jump back to my itineraries and show you as I scroll down the page a little bit more. With the past itineraries, this is where the feedback collection mechanism lives. And so if I click see details and I drill into a past itinerary, you can see that it was, the end of February. I went on this itinerary. I had, we went to see 5 listings that day, plus we had a lunch break, an afternoon break, and then a dinner stop. But here is where you're prompted to leave feedback. And so if I click leave feedback, this is where you have the opportunity to actually give a rating, an overall rating of the client interest, your rating of the listing, the experience, and you and your client's opinion of the pricing, as well as qualitative feedback. So this information gets captured, and then that's displayed back to the listing agent on the showing activity interface that I showed you a couple minutes ago. So I'm just going to jump back to the homepage and just kind of sum it all up for you here, which is we've got the calendar, right? It works great. It has a bunch of different views. It's on iPhone, iPad, it's on the Android app, it's on the web. The My Listings interface is for listing agents, right? Helping them configure showings, manage showings, etc., with a record of all previous showings. And then we've got the My Itineraries view, which is the buyer's agent flow. And then the last thing is we are now, and I see people want to start getting to questions. I want to get to questions too, but I did want to mention, because I'm sure this is the question on tip of so many of your tongues, which is like, how do we integrate with it? Can it be in our MLS system? Are you integrating with brokerages? Are you interoperable with other showing services and so forth? And so the answer is Yes, yes, yes. Yes, we endeavor to be interoperable with other showing services. Yes, we want to integrate with your MLS system so that you can have a schedule with ShowingTime button right in your display, whether it's CoreLogic or Black Knight or Flex or a custom built system. And yes, we want to work with brokerages. We are having a lot of conversations with a lot of people right now. We probably don't have it all figured out. We think we've got a pretty darn good beat on this thing, and we've got a lot of technical documents that we can share with those of you who are super interested at the end of this call. But the answer is yes, we want to be open. Yes, we want to integrate. And yes, we want to hear more about what you're thinking and how we can launch this product into the market with you to be as successful as possible in a way that makes your software work as good as it possibly can. All right, I'm going to stick a sock in it here and pass it, throw it back to Marilyn.
We have a gazillion questions. It's a very technical term, gazillion. So I don't even know where to start. I'm just gonna have you tick them off. I don't know, in no particular order, okay? Let's see. Oh, here's a compliment, so I'll give you that. Everybody likes those. Homesnap is so intuitive and easy to use. It looks like this new showing layer is intuitive using familiar design and operability. I have an IT background and I'm extremely impressed by this product. So good job, girls and boys. Lots of questions about when is it coming out? Everybody wants it sooner than later. When's it going to be here?
So the target launch is this summer. And so I want to pull back the curtain a little bit and tell you that, we were planning to build a showing service prior to the Zillow's acquisition of ShowingTime. But what that did was change our prioritization and our timeline, right? So, we've been growing. We've got over 75 engineers in the company right now. 50 of them are working on Homesnap Showings, just to give you an idea of how important this is. We've got 2/3 of our engineers working on Homesnap Showings. It's quite a large and complicated software project. You can see here it has been fully contemplated and envisioned in terms of the use case, capability, and so forth. I mean, in some ways, we just had this amazing advantage, which was we were able to completely tear down all existing showing services and just lay all the parts out on the table in front of us, and then figure out how to put them back together in the simplest and most intuitive way possible. And so we've got rid of a lot of the layers of the onion that I don't think we need, but still, we got a lot of software to write. Right? Shipping this on the web, iOS and Android means you got to build it 3 times in 3 different programming languages on top of a back-end architecture that needs to scale across the entire country and support, tens of thousands of appointments on a recurring basis. And so not only are we building it for speed, but we're building it for scale as well. So the summer, that's the goal. And we will keep you and all of our MLS partners and broker partners apprised as kind of the launch date becomes more known.
Okay, I'm just going to keep jumping at these. There's a lot of them. Matt asked, will there be a portal for buyer clients and seller clients so that they can see scheduled showings, i.e. ShowingTime has the Home by ShowingTime app where buyers can see scheduled or pending houses to see, and sellers can see showings on their home for sale?
Yes. So first, you can share a itinerary with a buyer, right? And that itinerary is effectively a list of listings, right? And then that appears right inside of Homesnap. And so hopefully you've already are making connections with your clientele inside of the application, because if you do, you become the agent that they'll see on every listing after listing. And so when they log in and accept your request and they get your itinerary, they'll not only be able to use Homesnap and see all the listings that you've put in itinerary, but when they view each of the itineraries, they will see you as the agent to contact on each listing, right? Because not only do we honor fair display guidelines in your listing, your lead, but we also honor the existing relationships between agents and clients, right? We don't interfere with them by injecting a premier agent or injecting another advertiser or injecting somebody else to take you to the showing. We want you to take them to the showing. We have created Homesnap to be a safe harbor for you to work with your clients. And so I really like that question. I'm vamping on it kind of extra because like you nailed it. That's the whole idea behind the thing.
I think you answered this, but let me just make sure. It says, when this is launched in the summer, will it be part of Homesnap Pro or will it be part of Homesnap Pro Plus? I believe it's Homesnap Pro, right? So there's no additional cost, correct?
You got it. It's part of Homesnap Pro, no additional cost.
Gotcha. Does it have smart scheduling? In other words, where I load all the properties and it maps out the logical order to show them in?
It does. But here is the rub, Marilyn, and this is kind of the way we are looking at the world, which is if you added 5 listings and all of them are being shown in Homesnap Showings, then yeah, we can perfectly smart schedule them, no problem there. Okay. But in the world of many showing services, that is currently not possible to be accomplished, right? Unless, with an asterisk, unless we can really drive forward the spirit of openness that I'm trying to kind of put on the table here and to create interoperability between the showing services, because that's ultimately where we want to get to, right? Because I don't care if it all happens in Homesnap Showings. The goal is to improve agent workflow, right? And so if Homesnap and CentriKey, if Homesnap and ShowingTime, we're able to communicate on the back end and not just single sign-on agent into the other system, but actually communicate availability, then we could get to that vision that I heard in that question, which I think is the goal. That is my goal, is to get there. We need to do some work on the interoperability between showing services, but I think there's an appetite for that, and I think we're going to get there is the answer.
Yeah, I think if there's anything anybody in the world of MLS has learned, and maybe brokers as well lately, is that we really do need to provide choice, because the situations of companies can change so quickly and so dramatically, and it really does make sense. So the idea that these could all work together and we could offer multiple choices as MLSs is awesome. Here's a tougher question for you, but George is always good for these. Data privacy and confidentiality are the major concerns our MLS members have expressed about our current showing service provider. How will showing information be used outside of the app itself? And does Homesnap intend to monetize the data obtained from use of this app? And can our members be assured, there's a lot in here, sorry. Can our members be assured that their confidential data will not be shared with third parties?
That's actually one of the easiest questions to answer, because there's no ulterior motive here. We're not selling off the data. We're not sharing it with a third party and so forth. We do intend to provide reporting back to MLSs. That's important. That's something that MLSs have been loud and clear about as we've done our market research here and have talked to many of you over the past couple months. And so we do intend to provide aggregate level reporting back to the MLS such that the MLS can use the data. That's really important. But no, we're not gonna use it to become an iBuyer or use it to, I don't know, build another data product that we're going to monetize and so forth. I mean, our play here is to serve the industry in such a way that agents like our app and use our app, because then we've got other ways to make money, right? Which I heard one of them mention, which is Homesnap Pro Plus, which is, one of our products that endeavors to help agents build their own brand. Right. We've also have our digital marketing products and so forth. And so Homesnap Showing is not a revenue product for us. It is in service of the industry, right? But we think that if we do a really good job and deliver this product, agents will use our app more, and that will give us more opportunities to get them to use our other revenue products, which are all optional, right? Everybody gets full boat access to Homesnap Pro on day one without paying a penny.
There's a few questions in here, Lou, about disclosures. Is there a way to send us documents such as the seller's disclosure statements directly to the selling agent automatically once their appointment is confirmed? Can I see disclosures when when I open up the listing detail page? Just a variety of different questions about disclosures if you want to address that area.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we call disclosures confidential docs inside of the Homesnap Pro application. We do have quote confidential docs live in most, but not all MLSs. For any MLS executives on the phone who have not opted into sharing confidential docs, I would ask you to turn that feature on in your MLS dashboard. It's a super popular feature and it's very, very sticky. We just list out the various documents in PDF and let agents access them directly. And so that would be the main mechanism for agents to access the disclosures. Of course, the whole thing lives on top of Homesnap messages, and you can share links and docs through Homesnap messages too. And so that would be the natural place for that information to flow back and forth. And that's all encrypted. And that really gets to kind of one of the core philosophies of Homesnap, which is like, don't go overboard in productizing it and figuring out every little nook and cranny of the use case. Like, just let people talk. Just connect the right people to who they got to be connected to, and let them exchange the files and the pictures and the videos and the links and so forth, so that they can get their job done.
A few questions from Andrew and others about, will there be a live call center billable upgrade option for brokers or for others? And I guess I'd ask a bigger question about that. Do you believe in this, with the way you've engineered this, that you even need a live call center? Maybe you could answer that, as well as are you going to have one?
I think we do need a live call center. And that is because we've done a substantial amount of market research into this, and some agents rely on the live call center. And so the answer is that we operate a call center. It's all based in our home office in Bethesda, Maryland. And, we've got a bunch of people working the phone, and they are now going to also support Homesnap Showings. And that includes accommodating appointment requests and confirmations and so forth. And so, Andrew, I don't fully know the answer of, are you going to charge for that? Because, as you know, operating calls, like, that's not free. You can't hire people, in perpetuity and increase your costs forever without, charging for it eventually. But here's what I do know is we plan to launch on day one with call center being available to all Homesnap Pro agents included as part of Homesnap Showings. And that will also be completely free. And then we're going to evaluate over time the cost structure around that. And there may become a point in time where that becomes part of the Homesnap Pro membership, or that becomes an a la carte add-on, and so on and so forth. We need to understand the usage, the importance, and the cost structure, right? And so the easiest way to do that is everyone's going to have access to that for free when we launch, and then we'll figure out where to go from there.
Okay, here's one about, this one person thought a lot about this question at the buyer agent workflow. So their first question is, as the first step, can I add all the properties first and then schedule times after they are routed and mapped? The second question is there a bulk add for multiple properties at one time into the itinerary? I don't know if you need to write these down. And the third is, or can properties only be added one at a time to the buyer itinerary?
Yeah, so it's a two-part answer. So yeah, the flow that I showed you is one listing at a time.
Okay.
However, earlier in my kind of overview of the BPP Homesnap partnership, one of the things that I had identified was that we have these deep integrations with Black Knight and CoreLogic and Flex and over 100 MLSs. Well, one of those integrations is listing carts, which allows agents to retrieve their listing cart from their MLS system inside of the Homesnap Pro application. And so we endeavor to allow an agent to pull in a listing cart and dump it right into an itinerary in a single click, right? And then you would go through and set the time for each one. So I didn't demonstrate that yet. And frankly, that feature may come in a release subsequent to the initial launch, but that's definitely on our roadmap. I think it's a really astute question because it gets to the heart of trying to improve agent workflow.
Exactly. Noah asks, and unfortunately, this is probably more common lately than other times of our history. Can you add homes that are not on the MLS, i.e. a buyer that I'm working with that wants a FSBO, and I'm planning to show it between two others that are listed on the MLS?
So the answer there is that no, right? Homesnap does not commingle FSBOs and MLS inventory on Homesnap Pro, right? We only support MLS listed listings. And so by default, you can only schedule appointments for listings that are in the MLS. However, there is a feature on the itinerary builder that I showed briefly. You can add a stop. And so oftentimes people might add lunch or break or dinner and so on and so forth. And I guess you could say, I want to add a stop, and this stop's going to be some FSBO, or it's an apartment because they don't know if they're going to rent or they're buy, or it's that kind of that basic flexibility exists in the product. So you could kind of do a workaround, I suppose.
Gotcha. In this market, people put a house on the market, and 15 minutes later it gets 750 offers. It's a little crazy right now. So if other agents already have showing set for a property and it goes to pending, or it's taken off the market in whatever way, is there a way to automate, let everybody that's got scheduling, showing scheduled later, to let them know that it's gone and it takes it off their calendar?
It is. So when that happens, which it goes into a contract status with certain types of contracts, or if you just turn off the switch on the top of the page, right? This one here, you will get a modal that pops up if you have existing appointments that basically says, okay, you're not accepting showing requests anymore, but what do you want to do? Honor future appointments or cancel all future appointments? And if you hit cancel all, then boom, they're ripped off all the calendars, and people are notified through Homesnap bot that the appointment no longer stands.
Got it. Rona asks, how do we add specific inspectors, appraisers that are out of the MLS, or agents that are out of the MLS for appointments?
So to book directly, an appraiser would need to be part of the MLS and have a membership status that allows them to have access to Homesnap Pro to do it first party. But the other thing we see quite a lot, and this came through loud and clear in the research, is many times the buyer's agent will book the appointment for them, kind of in their name, and then provide the instructions to them.
Got it. Adam asked, do you plan to make the service available to third-party apps or sites? For instance, we have a public open house website which has a ShowingTime plugin which sends showing requests directly to the listing agents.
Love it. Yeah, I want to get there. That's not going to be in the MVP, but we are building it in a very API-centric way, such that ultimately MLSs could build their own booking interface, either in their agent-only portal or on their owned and operated public portal. Brokers who we partner with would also be able to build their own instant booking, either for agents or consumers. And so that very, very much is in the plan. That won't be in the initial launch. We are going to launch it as an agent-only product for listing agents and buyers agents, but that's more of a business rule than a technology limitation, right? The technology would allow consumers to book directly, and it's my hope that we get there. Of course, the MLSs, the brokers, and the agents who own the listings will always have the last say on whether or not a consumer can book an appointment for a given listing. But I think it will be great. I mean, I'm sure you or many of you guys have used Airbnb, and when you are looking at listings, one of the things that you can filter on is which listings instant book available. And that's like a really compelling filter to add, because when you're browsing and you get bit by the bug and you want to book this house for vacation, like it's just so nice to be able to pick your dates and put in your credit card and hit the buy button and know that you're locking that down. And so getting to that vision with tours for residential property, I think would be pretty great. And so we're building it in such a way that we can get there and hopefully get there not too long after we launch.
Good. Diane asked, what about notifications to past showing agents? So if property goes back on the market, falls through, or price changes and things like that, is there any way to sort of do an auto communication to those that have already engaged with the house in some way?
Yeah, it's a really good idea. By default, you'll be able to message them. So the listing agent would have quick access to kind of go down the list and send a bunch of Homesnap messages.
I don't know if that would help, but we're aware that the biggest use case of kind of mass expressing to agents is about price cuts. And so there is a feature on the reporting page that will allow agents, the listing agent, to actually send a message out to everyone that has previously had a booking on this listing. So for example, if that listing went off the market and came back, that's the same listing. And so you can still message all those people from that same spot. So we are looking to that, and it's on our radar.
That's awesome. Does Homesnap have any partnerships with lockbox services in the future?
We don't have anything to announce at this time, but it is my hope that we will.
I like that answer. That's a non-answer answer. I love it. Okay. Michelle wants to know, can you set how many times the feedback survey is sent? So send for 3 days, 5 days, things like that. Is there any controllability over that? And there was another question about, is there any controllability over the feedback questions that are sent?
Yeah, so here we're launching it with a simple version, which is there's a default survey and there's a default dunning, which is effectively the number of times the request will be repeated on a kind of a time decay function, so the requests get further and further out. That will be the standard on launch. We do think that there's an opportunity to allow the feedback survey to be extensible so that you can add or remove questions and so forth. This is one that, interestingly, in kind of the user research, it's one that a lot of people noted, but it's a feature that barely anybody actually used. And so in the spirit of shipping it in the summer and not the winter, we're going to go with the simple version for launch. But this is going to be a product that we're going to be building on and iterating for years and years. And I mean, it's my hope that, for many of you that have used Homesnap over the years, you get that our track record is that it just keeps getting better. I mean, I can hardly even look at the Homesnap that existed 4 years ago, because it was, just a shell of what it is today, because we've kind of, well, it's really nice that they let Lynn and Allie and I be on the webinar today, because normally they keep us in the salt mine swinging the pickaxe all day, every day, just kind of making the app better. And so Homesnap Showings is going to kind of, that's going to be, a core part of, this is going to be a very core part of the application that we're going to be building on, for, I think, decades to come. And so it's my hope that eventually it's going to have kind of all the bells and whistles, but we are aiming for the minimum viable product that is a full substitute for everything that ShowingTime does, and a completely reimagined interface that is buildable to deliver by summer.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's a few questions about virtual showings too. As you know, we've leaned a lot heavier on the industry with that, with COVID. First question is from Richard. How are the virtual showings supported in this app, or do you have to use a third-party platform? In other words, do you have a Zoom replacement or Microsoft Teams or things like that, or do you connect into those when you book that virtual tour format?
Yeah, it's a bring your own virtual tour format. So what we did, we kind of did this, I guess it was last April, when a lot of the industry and MLSs were scrambling. We had made open houses have a type, in person or virtual. And when you specify a virtual open house, you can enter a date, a time, and a URL. right? And so you should think about Homesnap showings like that, right? A virtual showing is effectively you bringing your own interface, FaceTime, Zoom, what have you. It could be Facebook, to do that virtual presentation as the listing agent or buyer's agent.
This is a question about the reporting from Valerie. Will we be able to see showing stats in a set price range for our market? So you could go back and say, oh, houses between 200,000 and 300,000 are really hot based on the data that Homesnap is delivering?
I think, but Allie might know better than I, that sort of dimension would be available in the reports that we plan to deliver to the MLSs. The agents wouldn't have access to that data directly per se at launch, but MLSs themselves would. Is that right, Allie?
That's correct. I was answering another question while you started that one, but yes.
It's tough to keep up, right, Allie? There's so
It
many.
is. Oh my
questions
gosh.
here. You guys are crazy. I love it. Larry Knapp's asking, hey, Larry, good to see you, by the way. If your MLS doesn't currently offer Pro, can you purchase the scheduler separately?
You cannot. It is bundled. We would love you to join the family and bring Homesnap Pro to your members. And as part of Homesnap Pro, you'd have access to showings.
Greg Goslin has a good question. He said, can you reroute your actual plan with last minute changes? So, you stay longer at one house and then the others are going to be late, or your customer doesn't like this particular house, so they cancel the next house, all those kinds of things that happen while you're actually on a tour. How much flexibility do you have to move things around, and how much does the system help you do that?
It's my impression, and Lynn, maybe you have a thought or two here, that like we're mostly fall back to Homesnap messages there. And that's kind of what I was getting at, which is like, look, the world's messy. You got an edge case you got to deal with. Like you should just send them a chat and try to work it out that way. That's kind of that's the fallback. Is that right, Lynn?
Yeah. It's a fact of life, right? Like that's just how they work. It's not it's the norm that I think days of showings becomes very complex and things change, right? So we were chatting a little bit about earlier a call center. We are looking into how much can a call center support those kind of last minute changes, but we want to support it as much as possible in the app. And so to Lou's point, we're going to easily be messaging, but you also have the listing agent's information right there. And so you can open that communication from the app, get their number, give them a call, and maybe do a rebooking right there in the app, or just plan it offline to make sure that, your buyers show up at the right place at the right time and it doesn't inconvenience anyone.
Couple of technical questions. A lot of people are asking, do you guys use the SAML 2.0 language for your single sign-on connections?
Well, we've done a whole bunch of different single sign-ons. Yeah, our preference is the OpenID Connect, but we use the secure hash. We can do the SAML style login. So yeah, we've done them all, and we're happy to kind of figure out how to get it done with your particular system.
Gotcha. Okay, now this is, I don't know if this is within product management, but I'll ask it because I know that audience wants to know. The question is Homesnap willing to sign a pledge that they'll never sell to another brokerage?
I think yes. I mean, I would. It's not my call, but I believe. Well, I know that I've heard Andy Florence, the CEO of CoStar, say in an interview with Brad Inman that he would never become a brokerage, right? And there certainly isn't any brokerage that could afford to buy CoStar, which has a larger market cap than Zillow. So I think it's quite unlikely. So I don't want to fall over the tip of my skis here by promising you'll sign a pledge, but I kind of think it probably would, to be quite honest with you. And so I'm not sure, probably that would be something to take back to the BPP JV board, right? And let them kind of weigh in on it.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. We got so many. I'm trying to keep up with them all. Can you add a location to the map that's not a listing? So like you use the example of, hey, we're going to stop for lunch. Can you put that on the map as well?
You can, yeah. So you search by an address, and it uses the Google Places API to pre-populate any business, residential, retail address, and then that will be plotted on the map. Yes.
Got it. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and there are so many more questions.
Well, I've got, maybe before we break, Marilyn, I know that many of you probably either have questions or like ideas. And we're still very much in the like idea exchange mode right now. And if you've got something that you just think would make the product better, or could be a really interesting way to partner, or you want the docs because you're ready to start integrating, we've got the docs. And so I have Joe's contact information on the screen here. Joe's going to be the gateway for your question. And so he will route you to me, Lynn, Allie, Shannon, Eugene, Gail, Mark Rigardi, who deals with many brokerages. If you email Joe, he can get you the docs, or he can get you connected to the right product person or business development person to take the next step. And also, if you just have a question that we can get to today, he can also help you get that answer as well.
Gotcha. So everybody sees his email address there, jmcdermott@homesnap.com or 703-216-0415 for those that are listening on the phone. Thank you guys. I think this product's awesome. I would love you guys, anybody that's still on the call that wants to, just give us some feedback in the chat. I'm getting some of them, they're saying this is awesome, but I would love to hear from you guys because I think it's pretty awesome personally, but I'm not an agent. I don't use these tools. So it just looks beautiful. It seems really logical, but I'd love to hear from you guys. Here, great, want it, sounds awesome. Lots of, it seems awesome. Lots of good feedback. So yeah, I think it seems like you guys are on the right track. So good stuff. Now we're going to hold you to summer, Lou. So
I'll do my best.
And I need to
you hear
remind
that,
everybody
Lynn and Allie?
September is in summer, right, Lou? And he promises summer, and then Lynn's the one that's got to bring it home, right?
Yeah. We'll
Anyway,
do it. We'll make it work.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, we'll make it work. That's all. We'll make it work.
Good.
We're going to get it to everyone.
Yes, and people are asking if this recording is available. Yes, it is. And we will be sending it out to everybody that registered, which is lots of you. So thank you so much for everybody coming. Thanks to Lou and the team. This was great. I think you're on the right track, and love that Broker Public Portal. Those that know me know that I love that product and that whole program. Love that this is part of it. You're making that program even stronger. So great job, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Marilyn, for your time.
We're excited to see it. Bring it back as soon as it's ready, okay?
Will do.
Okay, thank you.